like to call to order the City of Belton Planning Commission meeting for September 5th, 2023. Could we have the roll call, please?
Chairman McPherson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark filling in for Mayor Larkey.
Here.
Councilmember Pryan.
Here.
Commissioner McDonough.
Here.
Commissioner Monahan Bass.
Here.
Commissioner Vest.
Here.
Commissioner Walton.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here. All right, thank you. Have several items that are up for public hearings this evening, but before we get to that, we will review the minutes from our August 15th Planning Commission meeting that have been presented and printed for you. Are there any corrections, updates, deletions that need to be made? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Thank you for the motion. The second. Any final comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will move into our public hearings now, and we'll call to order the first public hearing, which is for SUP 2023-06, application for a special use permit for modifications to an existing pole sign, including the replacement of a changeable copy sign to a digital message center for Aaron's Family Fun Center at the northwest corner of East 171st Street or 58 Highway and Aaron Lane. And Ms. Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair. An application was filed for a special use permit to convert an existing pole sign for Aaron's Family Fun Center to an electronic message center sign. The sign is located in an easement on the property in front of Aaron's Family Fun Center on the 5.5 acre Max Motors property at the northwest corner of East 171st Street and Aaron Lane. The subject property is bound by a gas station and other small commercial properties. The existing pole sign would be considered non-conforming in its current state, and per UDC section 30-11, with the addition of an electronic message sign, the pole sign is required to be reduced in height and size, as well as meet the current setback requirements. However, modifications are requested to keep the sign at its current height, size, and location to merely change the existing cabinets. So those modifications include reducing the setback from 10 feet to 5 feet, maintaining the pole sign at its current height of approximately 20 feet rather than reducing to 13 feet, and maintaining the current sign area of approximately 100 square feet rather than reducing to 66 square feet. The electronic message center signs or digital screens are proposed to be placed on the lower cabinets on both sides of the sign to replace the existing static faces. The larger sign on top is proposed to be purely a change of face with another static face sign, as well as a pole wrapping proposed around the base to bring the sign more into compliance. The proposed upgrade would not alter the structure or placement of the existing freestanding sign, and the proposed screens, based on the drawings and specs provided, meet all of the electronic message center sign requirements. Based on these standards for approval for the special use permit, the Aaron's Family Fun Center electronic message center sign meets all city standards and requirements in the UDC outside of the exceptions requested. The proposed changes are in line with the character of the corridor and is consistent with adjacent developed properties and would be considered an upgrade of what's currently on the property. And with that, staff recommends approval of the special use permit for the Aaron's Family Fun Center sign, and with the included conditions except for condition number 3. So I'm here for questions, and I think the applicant is here as well.
Okay, thank you. So ask the applicant, is there anything additional that you would like to share with the Planning Commission other than what staff has shared? No. Okay, I appreciate you being here. Since it is a public hearing, we will open it for any questions or comments from the public for those to speak either in favor or in opposition to the proposed sign change? Ask once again, anyone here to speak in favor or in opposition? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll open it for the commission. Any questions or comments from commission for staff or for the applicant? I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's the purpose of having the 13 feet versus why is there a standard on that?
So for freestanding signs and pole signs, it's required in the code to reduce the size, height, setback. It's supposed to meet in the middle between what's currently required and what the existing height or size is. So it's that 50% or half mark would be the 13 feet or the 66 feet in size. So that's where we get that number from.
The fact that it is just replacing what is already there would not really be, it's not like it's going to be changing any sight lines or anything like that. I was actually looking at it yesterday afternoon. And drove by there and was looking and remembering how much fun it is to put those letters up on a pole like that. So it's like I can understand why you would want to make that change for sure. If nothing other than that would be great. It is dangerous and difficult to do. So yes, Commissioner.
So that was added by mistake. MoDOT does not have to approve this sign change. So we would be approving this without condition number 3.
All right, thank you. Good question. Any additional questions or would entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the sign.
Thank you, Commissioner Walton. Do you have a motion? Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bass. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough,
Aye.
Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Aye.
Councilmember Bryan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Aye.
Commissioner Vest,
Aye.
Commissioner Walton,
Aye.
Chairman McPherson.
Aye. So it does pass, and look forward to seeing those changes on the sign soon. Thank you. All right. We will move on to the next item, which is another public hearing, and we will call that to order. This is for the consideration of SUP 2023-02, application for a special use permit for an outdoor recreation park. It will be named Powell Park at 611 Main Street in a C1 OTB neighborhood commercial Old Town Belton overlaid zoning district. And we'll ask the city planner, Ms. Fernandez, to present this.
Thank you. An application was filed for a final development plan and special use permit for Powell Park, an outdoor recreation park development at the northeast corner of Herschel Street and Main Street. The subject property is a 0.565 acre parcel bound by the railroad, neighborhood commercial uses, city hall annex, and single-family homes. The parcel is currently vacant aside for a small maintenance shed. The parcel is currently zoned C1, neighborhood commercial, which allows the development of an outdoor recreation park with a special use permit. The plan meets all site design requirements except for the modification to reduce a sign setback from 10 feet to 3.5 feet. The site includes an 18 by 18 traditional wood gazebo in the center of the park, and the existing maintenance shed will remain on the property, and a labyrinth will be placed on the far side of the park in the back corner. No parking is currently proposed on the site. According to the NRPA, or the National Recreation and Park Association, parks that are less than an acre are considered pocket parks, and based on that classification, this park type does not need to provide any parking on site. The size, use, and location will allow the park to be accessed via alternative modes of transportation as well as existing on-street parking. The site will be accessed via Main Street and Herschel Street, and the required sidewalk along Herschel has been added where a portion of the public sidewalk cuts through the park, and the necessary easements have been provided for that segment. That segment is in this top corner up here. In terms of landscaping, the proposed planting plan for the park is very robust and features trees, shrubs, grasses, and flowers of over 25 different varieties, many of them native, which will provide year-round interest in the park. The landscape plan meets and exceeds all requirements that we would have for this. And the landscaping will help buffer between the uses along Main Street, between single-family homes, commercials, and the railroad. A photometric plan has also been provided with this development, and the plan shows mostly uplighting of plants and bollards to light pathways, so no intrusive lighting or anything like that. And this meets all of our UDC requirements and does not go over 1 foot candle at the property lines. The 2 proposed signs on the site are located at the corner of Herschel Street and Main Street, as well as at the entrance of the park along Main Street. Modifications to the required sign setback have been requested to be reduced from 10 feet to 3.5 feet, so they're right up against the sidewalk. And based on the historic setbacks along the corridor, staff believes that this is consistent with other developments. Many of the other properties along Main Street don't have any front setbacks. The 2x3 wooden sign design provided meets all other sign requirements we have. Based on the findings of fact, the Powell Park development meets all city standards and requirements in the UDC outside of the modifications requested. And with that, staff recommends approval of the special use permit and final development plan for Powell Park with the 5 included conditions. I'm here for questions, and the applicant is as well.
And Mr. Powell, any comments that you would like to direct to the commission? Appreciate you being here this evening.
It's kind of weird to be on this side, but first of all, Adam Fritt from Rose Hill Gardens, they did our design, and the chief landscape architect, she's in Disney World now this week. She couldn't get out of that, but Adam, who's the chief designer for the project, is here for any detailed questions. I just thought a lot of people ask, why do you want to build this park? And I just want to say, the site until 2018, most of you remember that, was owned by Smoky Hill Railroad and contained Hubbard's Plumbing, a building and storage yard. The land's currently vacant. The park's designed to be a passive area on Main Street. The goal is to provide natural beauty through plantings and contemplative architecture through a labyrinth for pedestrians, shoppers, and Main Street business employees. The gazebo is designed to allow small events, weddings, musical concerts, speeches, etc., but its primary purpose is to bring back a gazebo meeting place to Main Street that existed in the 500 block until the 1970s. So anybody who lived here in the 1970s, Donald probably does, maybe Tom does. I won't insult anybody else with age comments, but there used to be a gazebo right where what we call New City Hall is now, and a place for people to gather and talk. And there isn't, except for Peace Park, there isn't a park on this side of Y Highway. In fact, from where we can sit at our house, we see a lot of families walking across Y Highway to get to a park. And this isn't going to have playground equipment, but it will be a place for kids to run around, use the labyrinth and things like that. So if you have questions, you can ask me, and you can ask Adam.
The only question I had is, where did you come up with such an original name for it?
Well, we really is because the staff started referring to it as Powell Park. But When I thought about it, the Powells and the Aldersons, who are my family, they were here way before Belton. We have a cemetery where we have people buried in the 1850s, and of course they all ran away during Order Number 11, but they came back, and so it's more to honor them than to bring any pointing at me. But if anybody disagrees with it, we'll name it something else.
I knew that your family had a lot of ties to Belton, has done a lot for the city, and so I think it's a great way to honor them. So, since this is public hearing, we will open it. Anyone from the public here would like to speak in favor or in opposition?
I love it.
All right. I was going to ask you to come to the mic, but I think we heard you. All right. Anyone else? Either in favor or in opposition? If not, we will close the public hearing and open it to the council. Any comments or questions from the council?
It says on here it's an 11-acre park.
It's
I mean,
a
that's
point
more than downtown, huh?
11 acres, which classifies it as a pocket.
I can't hear you.
It's under 11.
That was incorrect in the staff report. It is technically 0.565
Yeah.
acres.
Okay.
The classification under 11 acres makes it a pocket park, which that means that it's public access through pedestrians, bicycles, stuff like that, but not motorized vehicles. So that's why we can get away with not
I
having
just read it
parking
where
on
it
the
says the
side.
subject 11-acre site. I'm like going, that's the
Yeah,
smallest
no,
11
that is
acres
a
I've ever
typo.
seen.
So,
I guess my only question to Mr. Powell is, this is a private public park and you're maintaining that. What happens, I guess for future use, what's going to happen to this park when you are no longer here?
Well, we wanted to make sure that Belton wasn't going to have to maintain it, at least for the near term. I mean, my daughter has agreed to maintain it. I won't be up there every day pulling weeds. We'll probably have a contract for people to maintain it. We'll have a trust to keep feeding that. And if my daughter ever moves back from Los Angeles, maybe she'll pull some weeds. But eventually, I've talked to Kevin Feedback, and I mean, he's asked me, when you going to turn it over to Belton? And I said, not anytime soon, but it may be a Belton Park in the future after I'm gone. Maybe before I'm gone, I don't know.
I'm assuming you really wanted to be Powell Gardens, but that was already taken up, right?
Yeah, well, and we put it on the sign, and the staff had a comment, we really don't have to put that it's a private park for public use, but I wanted to get two things across. First of all, don't call the city if there's trash in there, call me. I'm responsible for maintaining it. And number two, is public use, so it's not like, I mean, if somebody if somebody has asked us to do a wedding and their family or friends, or even if they're not friends and they seem friendly, we'll say, yeah, sure, go ahead and use the gazebo. So I wouldn't go in there and start drinking beer while during the wedding and making loud noise and everything like that. That's not what public use is, but it's for people to be able to walk through there and take advantage of it. And I always told Dave Clements when he was here, he always asked me, why are you putting a park there? I said, so you can walk across the street and eat your lunch. Not on a day like this maybe, but when it's cooler, maybe 20 degrees cooler.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner, did you? Okay. I would just comment, I think it's a great idea to have something, and several I've talked with about this like the idea of having something near downtown, and think that there is a need that this is actually meeting. Interestingly enough, one of the things that was that came up in the comprehensive planning sessions was we need more park space, and that was one of the items that has been addressed already through this. So, Mr. Powell, I appreciate your thoughtfulness and your thinking of the city in presenting this. So I think it's a great idea.
I make a motion, we approve the special use permit of that specific location.
I'll second it.
All right,
With the
thank
following
you.
conditions.
Motion and a second. Any final comments or questions? Seeing none, can we have the roll call, please?
Chairman McPherson,
Aye.
Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren, Mayor Pro Tem,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough, Commissioner Walton, Councilmember Pryan,
Aye.
Commissioner Monahan Bass.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Look forward to seeing that develop here. All right, and now for the final public hearing that we have, we will call that to order. This is for consideration of UDC 2023-05, the Unified Development Code text amendments related to the rental registration program and related registration and inspection fees. And Mr. Wright, our building director, planning and building director, will be presenting this.
Yep, thank you, Chair McPherson and Planning Commissioners. Before you this evening is the last set of UDC text amendments related to the rental registration program. So the rental inspection program was brought before the Planning Commission, and you all recommended approval, and then City Council did formally adopt that on August 8th of this year, which will go into effect on July 1st of next year. As part of that, there are some modifications. We've adopted the inspection process, but now we need to look at the actual registration process. Currently, that is in the Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances and not in the Unified Development Code. So working with the city clerk, we are changing that from a rental licensing to a rental registration, so it will no longer be treated as a business license. It will be separate and be handled by the Planning and Building Department. So as part of that, I did include the redlined changes in the staff packet. It's a little hard to read on the screen, but I'll just kind of go through the main highlights. The main thing is in Chapter 10, this is where all the rental registration program will be added to the inspection program. So it will be referred to as the rental registration and inspection program going forward. Anywhere that it is referred to as a license, it's being changed to registration. As part of that, there were several definitions that were not included in the rental inspection program because they were previously referenced in Chapter 6. So we are bringing those over from Chapter 6, and there will be separate amendments later to Chapter 6 that will just go before the City Council. So those include the definition for family member, and that is specifically due to some exemptions if you are essentially renting or leasing your home or an accessory dwelling unit to a family member. Those are not considered to be rental units because it is being rented by an immediate family member. We've also changed, previously there was a separate definition for landlord and owner. We are treating those as one and the same, so it is now landlord-owner to avoid any confusion on that. And then we've also added local point of contact. That has been an item that council had a lot of concerns about with how do we reach people out of state and out of town landlords. So with any registration, if the landlord does not reside within 30 miles of the city or their unit, and that they have no property management company that's managing that within 30 miles of the unit, then they need to provide some other local point of contact who we can get a hold of in the event of an emergency. And that also will help with not only emergency situations if there's a fire, but it would also help with issues of code enforcement items. There's also the exemptions that are included in there for facilities that may have people who are paying or they're providing some kind of a service that are where people are staying but are not considered a rental a rental property. So there's a number of land uses that are included on there that are exempt from these regulations, and that again is just being carried forward from what has previously been included in the code. The main section of the registration program itself is in section 10-142, which essentially just is taking again from chapter 6 and moving things to the UDC, which does require that all landlord owners register their property and pay the registration fee. And then that also subjects them to the rental inspection program. We've made it clear about the local point of contact when that is needed. And then the initial registration is effective upon approval and must be renewed every 12 months for the duration that the dwelling unit is rented or leased. And then it is the responsibility of the landlord owner to notify the city in writing of if they sell the property to another company or another individual. That individual is then required to obtain a new license and essentially a registration, and that starts over the 12-month calendar year. Or, sorry, the 12-month rolling year. And that's essentially the registration program. Again, we're not really changing anything from what's already in the code. The main thing is adding the local point of contact to make sure that that is part of that. And then the last item is on the last page of page 4 of the code amendment, which is the rental registration fee, which is proposed to be $20 per unit. Essentially, you would just pay that at the time of registration, and then that would cover your 12 months as well as any inspections that are required. And again, just for clarification, the rental inspection program is only at the time of tenant turnover. So we would only be handling those inspections when the units are vacant. And that concludes staff presentation on the proposed inspection program and registration program. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either in favor or against any of these proposed text amendment changes? Ask once more. Seeing none, we will close that public hearing and open it to the council. Any questions that you have for staff? Seems like this does just kind of give a nice, clear, concise, with some of the work that's been done to tie some of the loose ends nicely. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is really just the last step, and once, if this is approved, that'll be able to kind of us internally finalize everything and help get more outreach to the landlords and rental properties to let them know the July 1st effective date, so they have, you know, a good 9 months to prepare.
Sure. All right. Any other questions, comments, or is there a motion? All right, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. And second. Any final comments? Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vest,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Aye.
Commissioner Walton, Chairman McPherson,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough, Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Aye.
Councilmember Pryan.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That has carried. Our next is a non-public hearing, and this is for FDP 2023-02, application for final development plan for Powell Park, an outdoor recreation park at 611 Main Street, and our city planner, Ms. Fernandez.
I don't have any more to add to our presentation. Same thing.
So pretty much the same information that we had done under our public hearing. So, any questions, or is there a motion? Got a motion? Thank you.
Second.
Second.
And for the second. All right. Any comments? If not, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Walton,
Aye.
Commissioner Monahan Bass,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren, Commissioner Vest,
Aye.
Chairman McPherson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pryan,
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough, Mayor Pro Tem.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next item we have would be for our director's report.
Yeah, a few items. So the public hearings this evening were the first set of public hearings that we've had since we resumed the responsibility of notifying the public through our own letters instead of having the applicants take care of that. So at the end of the agenda packet, what we're going to do going forward is providing you with proof of all of those letters. We have already been providing with proof of the newspaper publication, but we're also providing with a proof of the letters, the map, highlighting the properties that the letters were sent to and the names and addresses. But we just wanted to let you guys know that that is in the agenda packet and kind of give you an idea of what we're sending. As part of these letters, we are also including a snippet of the plan or something that helps illustrate, just so it's not just words, so they have something visual to also look at to get a better understanding of what is being proposed on those properties. So those will be, we just sent one out last week for the Traditions Daycare, which is on the next Planning Commission agenda, and we included a preliminary site plan on there as well as the building elevations, just to give the residents who receive that some idea of what is coming. Also, an update on the comprehensive plan. We did have a couple of meetings last week. We had a steering committee on last Monday, and then we had a joint workshop with Planning Commission and Council to give the consultants were giving an update on the market analysis and some of the existing conditions analysis that they did. All that information we are planning on getting the website updated this week with links to all that information. And the community engagement website should be live now. We are going to give some postings on that this week as well, just so the community can have access to that. There will be a lot of interactive activities on there, so we encourage the community, Planning Commission, Council, the community, to go out and look at that and provide feedback. As part of that, our first community engagement activity will be this Friday evening at the Fall Festival. So we will have a tent set up outside of the annex between 5 and 7:30. So there'll be some interactive activities there, some vision boards for the community to come out and put dots on different images that they like or images that they don't like of what they see for the future of the community. And those pretty much the same boards will also be available on the website. So if you can't make it to the tent, there will still be other ways of participating in that. And then our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 19th. And the only item we have on there is the Traditions Daycare, which will be a special use permit. They will also have a final development plan and a final plat that will be part of that.
Great. I just want to express to staff, I appreciate all the work that you're putting in, both on the website, on the packets that you're putting together, the way that you have everything concise and easy. It's easy for us, but for our public, that if they want to go in and look at the agenda, they can make sense out of that. And now the letters that you're doing, I appreciate all the work that's going in. And there's just a lot, I'll just echo, there's a lot of good stuff happening with the comprehensive plan. And that website will show you a lot. There's some great information that has been shared over the last few weeks with that, and encourage everybody, both on the commission, the council, and in the public, to take advantage of going in and looking at that information, because it kind of gives you an idea of just what all's happening in Belton right now, and some things that we may not know about. But it's exciting to see and see where our outreach is to areas around us. So just encourage you to do that. Any other items this evening? If not,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.